Okay, this is another series of videos that I'm making for my website, pfSenseSetup.com. This is a series of instructional videos in which I show you how to do some basic things with the pfSense firewall. And in this video, I'm going to go through the process of configuring a virtual private network under pfSense. And first, we had to introduce some basic concepts. Virtual private network, as you may or may not know, is a means of extending a private network across a public network. We often hear about virtual private networks in the context of, we want to, where we want to surf the internet from a local computer, and we want some degree of privacy. So VPNs are one means of achieving this end. It's not necessarily the only way, but it provides an encrypted tunnel between us and the site that we're accessing, so it serves this purpose quite well. But um, another reason why we might want to use a virtual private network is that uh, we're accessing we're remote users, and we want to access a local computer and access it as if we're accessing it locally. So in other words, it enables a remote computer to access a private network as if it were connected directly to the private network. Um, so whereas under some circumstances we might be able to access some local resources because they were made available to people on the internet, or to remote users. Um, this way, we can access private resources on the local network, whether or not they were specifically made available to internet users. Um, so, for example, if I wanted to log into my pfSense firewall, I can't do that from remotely, because it's not it's I haven't set that up. But if I were to connect to my local network via VPN, then I could. And the third thing that should be mentioned is it establishes a virtual point-to-point connection. Um, I think that's already sort of implied by what I've already said. And the other thing is different protocols are used. OpenVPN is quite popular. So is IPsec. In this video, we're going to demonstrate use of a protocol called point-to-point tunneling protocol. And so that's the preliminary. So and in this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a point-to-point tunneling protocol, VPN tunnel, and then I'm going to access it via a computer that is not on my local network right now. So I'm going to, after I configure it, I'm going to have to configure the remote computer to uh, access the VPN. So first, I'm going to log into my pfSense box here, and you can see we're on 2.2.4, the latest version, and we covered that in the previous video, the upgrade process. And I'm going to go to VPN here. So I'm going to go to the VPN menu, and I'm going to click on the last item on the menu, PPTP, point-to-point tunneling protocol. So I'm going to click on that, and we get this warning message about point-to-point tunneling protocol is no longer considered secure VPN technology because it relies on MS Chapter version 2, which has been compromised. So just an FYI, if you choose to use um, point-to-point tunneling protocol in a real-world scenario, it might be problematic. I'm just demonstrating this for purposes of showing how you can set up uh, the um, a VPN tunnel in pfSense. So the first thing we're going to do is scroll down here, and under configuration, I'm going to click on this button here, enable PPTP server. And for the server gateway, I'm going to type in the first network, the network that's not being used, which is 192.168.4. something, and I'm going to use the server address 192.168.4.254. And the starting range for this client IP subnet, I don't anticipate having a lot of users, but we'll use starting address will be 192.168.4.100. And then we'll continue to scroll down here. And last thing I want to do is I'll require 128-bit encryption. So only 128-bit encryption will be accepted. And it also says here, don't forget to add a firewall rule to prevent traffic from PPTP clients. So that's something that we're going to have to do later on too. So it looks like everything's set up the way I want it to be. So I'm going to scroll down here and click on save. And note that we still have to add users because you have to enter username and password when you connect via VPN here. So I'm going to click on the users tab, and I'm going to click on the plus sign to add a user. And actually, I think I clicked on the wrong thing, so let me just go back here. I click here. Okay, I clicked on the right thing. So, but I'm going to type in a different username. Let's just do guest. I'll type a password here. I'll type a password here. And we're not going to assign a specific IP address. So just click on save. So now we have a user. And I'm going to click on apply changes here at the top to apply the changes. And remember that before we were warned that we have to set up a firewall rule. So we're going to do that next. And so we're going to go to firewall, and we're going to click on rules here. And note that we have everything that we set up before. We had WAN, LAN, and DMZ, but now we have a new tab for PPTP VPN. So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to click on this button here to add a new rule. We want to pass traffic. Interface is already correct. Protocol we're going to leave as TCP. You could set this up for any, but we only need to allow TCP traffic, so it's probably a little bit more secure if we just leave it as TCP. For destination, we're going to say LAN net, so we're going to allow them access to the LAN. Destination port range, I'm going to choose any. And for description, I'm going to say allow PPTP client traffic to LAN rule. And I think this is set up the way it needs to be, so I'm going to click on save. And we, again, as we always have to do when we make changes, we click on apply changes at the top here, and that will reload the rules. So now we're going to go and remotely access the remote computer that we want to connect to the VPN. And you'll notice that it's our Linux Mint system, but this time it's not connected to the local network. It's using my 3G connection to, and you can actually tell because it's like really slow here. It's using my 3G connection to access the internet, and we can actually prove this by we can go in here and try to access the firewall from the browser here. And so I'm going to open up a new tab here, and again, you can see how slow this is. And I changed the settings to 256 color to make it a little bit faster, so it reduces the quality here. But so that should help a little bit. But anyway, let's type in the IP address of the firewall, and you can see that it didn't load the login page, so it can't access it because it's not on the local network. So let me go to, so we're going to set up a VPN connection. So I'm just going to click on this icon here in the sys tray, and I'm going to go to network connections. I'm going to click on that, and that should bring up the network connections. Okay, here we go. Network connections dialog box. So I'm going to click on add to add a new connection, and I'm going to choose a connection type. The connection type will be point-to-point tunneling protocol, which is what we're using here. So I'm going to click on create here, and it's going to bring up a dialog box with more choices. And it wants the gateway, so I'm going to have to give it the IP address of the gateway. So I'm going to go back to, since I actually don't remember what it is, I'm going to go back here and find this 68.199.104.238. So let's go in here. It's 68, yeah. 238, and we're going to type in the username and password. So we had guest, and we had password too. We're not using an NT domain with this, but there are some advanced settings that we need to bring up. So, and actually, let's go into IPv4, and we'll use automatic VPN addresses only. And we'll go to advanced here, and we're going to leave all these settings here as their defaults. Allow BSD data compression, allow deflate data compression, and use TCP header compression. But we're going to click on security and compression, use point-to-point encryption, MPPE. So I'm going to click on that checkbox, and for security, I'm going to choose, there's a drop-down box here. I'm going to choose 128-bit most secure. Remember, when we set up the VPN connection, we required 128-bit encryption. So this is required to make this work. And I'm also going to click on the allow stateful encryption checkbox. That's also required to make this work. So I'm going to click on OK here. And again, note that in IPv4 settings, we had automatic VPN addresses only. And I'm going to click on save. And I'm going to go back to the tray here and bring up the connections. Click on this. And I'm going to click on this button here to establish a VPN connection. And this is where it will break, because now we're going to become disconnected from the internet and connected via VPN to our local network. So we're not going to. So this will break our remote desktop connection, which is unfortunate because now I can't show that we can access the fact that we can access the firewall now, because it says the connection has been lost, which would be the final step. So that's unfortunate. I can't demonstrate that. But otherwise we've demonstrated how to set up a VPN connection, how to connect to it. Just FYI, the computer that we were using to connect to it was running Mint Linux. So if you're running a Windows computer or even a different flavor of Linux, the steps that you have to go through might be a little bit different, but the setup is basically the same. Okay, well that does it for this video. So if you like this video and you find it helpful, you might consider visiting my website, pfSenseSetup.com. This is